Hello and welcome to another exciting Blender tutorial. Today we're going to be making a book that you can turn the pages of. Let's get started. All right, so the idea today is to make a rig and a book. So basically a book that you can turn pages, animate, and how to do that kind of thing. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is make the book, and then we'll do the page rig last. So first step, we're going to go for Shift-A, Mesh, and Cube. And go into Edit Mode with Tab. And I'm just going to select, I'll hit 3 to go to face mode. You can just click up here. And G and Z to bring this one down, and G and Z to bring this one up. I might bring this right up so it's resting more or less on the base there. I'll bring this one down a bit, and I'm just going to kind of define the size of my book with this. So I might grab this one actually and bring it right to the middle. If you open up the side panel here, you can actually go to Item, and this will tell you the median of all the points you have selected. So I've got all these points. I want to put them right on the 0x. So if I type 0 on the x, it'll make that the median point of all those vertexes. But because they were all kind of lined up, they should all be 0. We can just check that. But yeah, it's an easy way to get really like specific if you want to put stuff in a certain spot. I'll go to 3 again and grab X just to extend this out just a little bit. And I want to think about, this is basically one side of the cover. So I've got X, I'll set it to 1.5. I think that's going to be good. And so if we grab this one, I can hit E to extrude, and I can just type 1.5, and that'll stick this one out equally to the other direction. So, all right, cool. Now I want to make a binding. So let's see, I might even bring these guys down a touch more. That should be good. And let's see, how do I want to do this? We're going to go to Edge mode, hold down Alt, and just click this way to select that whole edge. And then what we can do is we can hit Control B to bevel, which basically will split that edge out, which is what we want. So I'll split it out until I've got kind of a good binding thickness, something like that maybe. Looks pretty good. I might hit Control R and roll my mouse wheel once. That'll create 2 loop cuts there. And then if I hit S to scale and X, I can slide them out. I'm just going to slide them out to about there. Go into face mode with 3, hold down Alt, that'll select the center group, and then grab Z. And I'm just going to bring these guys down a little bit like that. And then I think I can grab this face and hold down Shift and grab that face, and then grab Z and bring them down a little bit as well. That's sort of what a book binding looks like. This might be a little bit higher, like might Shift and Alt click to grab those loops, bring them up some more. What we're going to do next is we're going to model out, let's model out like the page, like the thick pages, like the base pages that are going to be open, all right? Because what we're going to do is just show like how do you just turn a single page? Like if you had a book lying on a table, how could you animate that process of having the page turn? And one of the tricks you'd probably do is you think about, you don't want to be able to turn hundreds of thousands of pages. You don't want to model, all the pages of this book. That's just, not practical. And in the scene you're shooting, you probably just need him to turn 1 page, maybe 2. So you need a flexible rig that just has maybe a few pages that can be turned and then a bunch of fake pages. So a whole section that looks like an open book, but is just, geometry. So also might go ahead and let's go into edit mode and hit Control R and just do 1 cut right down the middle. And then grab this up a bit because I think we're going to have a little bit of a curve. So what we could do is actually use this. So let's go to edit mode and we'll hit 3 to get faces. And I'm just going to focus on one of these for right now. So I'm just going to click this one. I'm going to hit Shift-D to duplicate and then P to separate by selection. And then I'll come up here. I'll call this base pages. And we'll go into edit mode. Actually, first grab Z, just pull it up a little bit so it's not exactly the same spot. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude. And I might use my controller here and set this to local or normal. That'll be the direction that the face is pointing. So, and let's pull this down a little bit like this, and we'll just rotate Y a touch. E, rotate Y, grab this. I'm just going to grab this, the green square, and that will just move it on that plane of motion. So it won't move it along the X. I mean, along the Y, that's what I would say. Go, this one, take Y, line it up, and pull this out. And I might bring it all the way over here and then bring it up so that it kind of lines up nicely right there. And then I'm going to go 3, grab this, or sorry, 2, grab that edge. I'll switch back to global and I'll grab X and slide this back so it's got that taper to it. That should be pretty good. And then let's see, we're going to need that binding, that extra like binding section. This cover might be a bit thick as well. I'm not sure it's the right thickness. How can I solve this? Let me just go 3, grab all the top faces, grab Z, and just bring them down a bit, like that. There we go. And I can just grab Z, bring it up until it intersects with the page here. Okay, it looks a bit better. Now with this page, we could add a mirror modifier. So I can go over here and add mirror. It's the little butterfly. Where are you? There it is. Okay, so that's going to mirror automatically on the X. So as long as you've modeled yours like mine, with the X-axis going this way, it would work. If you've done it the other way along the Y, you just need to switch the X's to Y, and it'll mirror properly. All right, cool. So there's a pretty good base for our mesh. I feel like this bit, maybe we need a little bit of depth here. Let's grab these guys up a bit and let's make something for the binding right in here. Now I can right click on this and shade smooth, but that's going to smooth everything, which I don't quite want. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll use a bevel modifier for this, but we'll take the amount down. So it's just a little bit. And then we can right click shade smooth and try auto smooth. That might be a little bit better. Looks like I'm getting from bevel on this, which I don't quite want. I'm gonna add a subdivision surface modifier as well and put it before the, wait, do I want it before? I want to do it after the bevel, don't I? And I'll do the bevel with 2 segments. That will sharpen that up a little bit. Looks pretty good. It's a bit hard edged right here. I feel like that's a little too much. Might select this and Control B to bevel. Just drag that out a bit. I'll smooth that one out a little bit. It's pretty good. And maybe what we should do as well is do 1 loop cut there and just raise it up a touch. Just curve those pages a little bit more naturally. Maybe 1 more there. It's pretty good. I feel like it's a bit too bunched up here. So I might double tap G and slide this, and then double tap G and slide this one. Just spread these out a bit. And I'm using Alt, so I'm Alt clicking the edge, double tapping G. Alt click the edge, double tap G. And we do need 1 little bit here. So let's grab this, and I'm going to hold on Alt, actually click 3 to go to face mode, and Shift click Alt there twice. So we get this loop. And then we're going to Shift D to duplicate, grab Z, bring it up, and then scale Z to flatten it. No, not quite. We're just going to grab the top faces there and grab this down. And we could probably keep this in as a part of this mesh as opposed to separating it. But what I can do is hit L to select linked with my mouse hovering over that particular piece. And that should allow us to just select it, and I'll scale it down a little bit. Now we do need to make sure the binding is taller than the pages. So let's scale Y with this. I'm holding down Shift just to make it, the movement's really small. And then let's Alt click this edge, and then I'll select the whole loop around the binding, or sorry, the cover. And I'm going to S and Y and just drag up with Shift just a little bit so that it's just a touch larger than the pages. That should be good. So now we've got the little glue section. Although I feel like the glue section should be a bit different. I'm going to hit L to select linked, and I'm going to hit P to separate, just to make it simpler for me. And then I'm going to 2 to select edge mode, and then Alt click that center and then Control B to bevel, and I'm just going to drag and roll my mouse wheel. By rolling the mouse wheel, it's going to add in more cuts as I bevel. I'll just drag that out. This way it's a bit smooth. I'll just grab it up, and I'll grab the pages up as well. Actually, I want them to intersect. So that looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and get some materials going and get this thing to see how much realism we can get out of just this base model, right? So we can know if we need to model more, for example, with the pages and stuff. Do we need to model any extra pages in this, or can we make it work? So what we're going to do is select the pages, and we're going to go ahead and go over to rendered mode. I'm going to turn off scene world. That way we can use one of the built-in HDRIs. Anyone is fine. I'm going to Shift A and mesh plane to create a bit of a table. And we might go ahead and just use a really good texture for this, just so we could start, thinking about this in terms of realism. So I'm going to head over to Polyhaven. Here we go. And you can get everything off Polyhaven for free. Awesome stuff. You can support them on Patreon. Highly recommend it. All right, so we're going to go textures. And we'll just get a wooden texture. So click wood. And I want to go for just something for the table. Yeah, wooden table. That'll be fine. So I'm going to download this at, probably don't need 8K. Just go 4K. File, append. I'll go to the downloaded file, wooden table, append, collection. And I don't need the sphere. But I could just use the plane. So they already have that set up. And I could delete ours. There we go. Looks nice. I might switch to one of the indoor HDRIs, maybe this one. Gives a slightly better look. And then Shift A, light sun lamp. Just bring this around here. Go ahead and turn on, in the render settings, we're going to turn on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. Grab the sun. Under shadows, turn on contact shadows. And we'll just find a nice spot for that. Maybe give it a little bit of a warm color. Something like this. And I might turn the strength of our world down just a little bit. There we go. All right, cool. This is looking good. I can scale the table down a little bit so the wood grain looks good. So I'm gonna hold down Alt, click that loop, and then Control B to bevel. Just expand that out a little bit. You can see with all those, kept the the mouse rolls that we had before. That'll just help to smooth this out without using a subdivision surface. Looks a bit better. We could leave these hard-edged over here. All right, great. Now, let's see. Let's go for this. Let's make a bit of like a leather cover. So I'm just going to drag this up. And, we might be able to just get a leather off of here as well. Let's just see. And red leather. Let's go for the red leather. All right, and I'm going to go File, Append, and we're going to go up to Leather, Collection. And we can get rid of the sphere and the plane and these extra collections. We'll keep that. And I will click on my binding, go to the Material tab, and just find red leather. There we go. Now we are going to need to set up our UVs for this. You can see it's messed up on one side, but not the other. That's actually from the mirror, I think. Oh, no, we don't have a mirror. Okay. So what we could do is just go here into edit mode, hit A to select all, hit U to go to UV unwrap, and we could just go for a cube projection, which will probably be all we need. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Now it's a very similar color to the table, so we probably want to offset a little bit. So let's go into our shader node. And what we can do is come over here and grab a hue, saturation, and value node and just drop it here and just shift the hue a little bit in one direction or the other. So just till it shows up a bit better. All right, let's do a texture for this little guy right here. So I'm going to click new to create a new material. And it should be like, kind of a dark color, but I think we should have like a striped, like a white and like a white color and then a dark color. Because if you look at our reference, you end up with this nice little stitched kind of black and white, well, blue and white color difference. So what we can do is create that pretty easily. We're going to come over here and we're going to grab a, what do I want? Checker. texture. And is that the best one? Probably not. Voronoi is probably a bit better. Let's go for Voronoi. We're going to turn random all the way off. Grab a color ramp. And drop that there and put the distance into the factor. And then the color into the base color. And then what we can do is we can pick what two colors we want. I'll go for a bit of a dark blue and a white. And I'll just bring this up. Set this to constant. That way we can just drag this one down. Okay. And then I want to, let's see, let's grab a texture coordinate node. And let's try the object coordinate. And I'll turn the scale up. We might need to choose the UV and then hit tab. Actually, just change the scale here. Yep. Tab A, enter mode, and we're going to go U for UV, and we're going to click on cube projection again. And we'll see how this goes. You can see we get these like spheres, basically. But what we can do with that is we can, well, first we can bring this down so the spheres are a little more isolated. Let's grab a mapping node. Drop this down. We're actually going to blow the scale out on the Y. There we go. Because we want these like stripe things. All that matters is that they line up. So doing that UV unwrap was fine, doing it that way. So and now we can just drop the scale until we get enough stitches. And we could get a little bit of distance, like a little bit of fade fall off. So I can just switch that to ease and bring these a bit closer. So it has a bit more fall off between the two. And we should also use some bump for this. So I'm going to grab a bump node, drop this here, and we'll just take this as it is into the height and drag this into the normal. And that should give us some decent bump. Cool. All right. Now we need to figure out the pages. And so to do this, we got to figure out first let's figure out the hard bit, which is, you know, the pages that are like already resting, like the sides of them. We want to see those lines. Let's have a look at our mesh. Let's hit A to select all, and let's have a look at the UVs. Okay, so this is really not ideal. So let's hit U and cube project. This might give us what we want, because what we want is basically want this to be like a straight up and down. Yeah, that's not gonna look good. Let me grab. We're gonna want a different material for the sides, so we don't have to worry about the tops so much. So I'm gonna hit 3. Alt click, we're going to grab all that, and we're going to go U, cube projection, just try all the basic ones, U, unwrap, nope, U, follow active quads, length average. Okay, that straightened it all out. We can rotate this, and we kind of want to do what? Well, let's go, does auto align do it? Nope. Okay, that means we have to go one by one. And auto align. No, let's align. We want to specifically align line X. Sorry, align Y. I'm just alt clicking these and then running the align. Okay, so now it's tapering a whole lot. So I'll just grab this whole edge and let's go F3 align. And let's try align X. Yeah, cool, that works. And that sets it up. Cool, so now we've got this nice straight long of polys that represents this page. So now what we can do is we can come over to our shader editor and click new. And I can do a similar thing to this. Like we could actually come over here and just grab this system. Just grab the whole thing, really. Copy that, and we come back to our pages, paste it all into here, and then we'll just temporarily plug this in here and that to the normal. And we're just, again, looking at this. So we want to just assign it to the edge. We don't want to assign it to all of it. So let's go to 3 and grab the top surface of our book pages. Click plus to create a new material slot, new to create a new material, and then assign. And that will assign that new material just to the selected faces. That way our pages can go to the other stuff. So now we get some weird warping, but that's coming from all this stuff, right? And instead of blue, We'll just go for like a light, sort of like a light yellow, maybe, parchment color, and then a dark parchment color. And I'm going to bring this one right back, and I'll bring this right down. So it's technically like, you know, this is the shadow cast by the pages themselves. So we could probably darken it up a bit more. And I'm going to put a little bit of bump into these pages, probably to the top ones here. So I'm just going to grab a noise node and a bump node. And I'll take the factor into the height and the normal into the normal. And then what we can do is turn it up. Go. And then I'll take the distance down to like 0.05, 0.02, make it really fine. And then just drag this right up and then take the strength down. Just like a subtle little texture to it. You may not be able to see that. I'll take the roughness up and the specular down as well. I'm going to come over here and grab a noise texture. Bring this back. I'm going to go mix right here and switch this to vector and drop this here and plug this noise texture into here. And I'll turn the factor off. Hold down shift and just drag it up a little bit. It's going to distort our pages. Like 0.001 is probably all we want. Turn up the scale on that bump. Let's try color. Not sure if the mix is any different. That looks pretty good actually. And I don't mind the weird distortion that we're getting from the subdivision surface. It oddly kind of works. So let's talk about the actual topic of the video, which is making a page rig. Okay, so how would we do that? How do we make a page that can turn back and forth? So we need a really flexible object that's bendable, that's easy to deform, and it's going to look good. So what we're going to do to create that is we're going to go Shift-A, Curve, Bezier. We're going to use a Bezier curve. Come over to the Curve Control tab, and we're going to go down to Extrude, and we're just going to drag it up. You can see it, you know, just extends it out, and it's an easy way to make a page. Now what we can do is grab both of these guys, and under the item menu on the side tab, we can come over here and change the tilt. We can set this to 90, and that will rotate the curve itself. So that way we can use these things in orientation that makes a bit more sense. Okay, one more time. Let's line this thing up. And this one, I want to put it right down inside the binding, and then bring that up and scale this down. And again, I want to straighten it up. So I can grab these guys and I want to scale Y0. And then come over here, grab those guys, scale Y0. We'll straighten that up too. And also want to make sure this is in this, these are in the same point on the Y as well. Zero this out and zero that out. Okay, so now it's all straight. Now let's adjust the height of the page. So I'm going to come back to the tab there for the page, and I will take the extrude up until it matches the size of my book. The way we want to animate this, we'll go ahead and put the material on it as well, the same one. What's it called? This one is called page mat, and this is page side. So we'll come back over here, we'll grab page mat. Bam, there we go. All right. So we want to keep this one anchored down here. I'm going to be able to move this and just kind of rotate it over. But we also want to keep the size of the page. So, you know, we could go into edit mode and we could grab this thing and move it around, and we could use that as the way, you know, we move it. But you can see it's a little hard to control and keep the shape of the page. So I'm actually going to go out of edit mode, and I'll select this center, the center of this control point in my Bezier page, sorry. So go into edit mode, select that, Shift-S, cursor to selected, go out of edit mode, and I'm going to go Shift-A, empty, and I'll create a sphere so it's easy to see. And then go back into edit mode. We're going to select this vertex, Shift-S, cursor to selected, go out of edit mode, Shift-A, and we're going to go for a plane axis. Now, what we can do is we can take this, shift click this, Control P, parent. Now, this is parented to this. We're also going to go into edit mode. We're going to select this control point, and we're going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. And then we're going to go Shift A, plane axis, and we're going to have another empty that's going to be right here. So this to this to this. We're going to select the page, and we're going to click this, and we're going to Control P and parent. So we're parenting the page to this this empty. That way we can rotate this one, right? And that'll turn our page. Then what we're going to do is we come over here to the page, and we're going to add a hook modifier. And we're going to select the empty that's here in the middle. So I'm going to grab empty O2. Going to edit mode, select this vertex on the curve, and we are going to click assign, okay? Now, when we take this and we rotate on the Y, you can see it's going to prevent the middle from rotating along with it. So this will give us the right kind of behavior that we want. So now we just need this other one to rotate a little bit. So we can click on this and we can add another hook modifier. So we go over here, add modifier, hook, and we can select this second empty, go into edit mode, select this vertex and click assign. And then we can leave edit mode. And with this one right here, what we can do is we can add a constraint. And this constraint, we're going to copy the rotation of the sort of the master controller. We're going to switch the owner to local space, and we're going to bring the influence right down. So what this is going to do, if I rotate Y, it's going to rotate this other one, and I'll just bring it over till we're kind of roughly in the right spot and select this. And if we adjust this influence, you can see it's going to adjust how much it rotates this guy. Now we only need to rotate on the Y, so I can rotate that. We can turn this off, and now we've got the page functioning in a way that looks really good. Bring this texture in, and let's go for a mix color. And I'll just pick the color we already have picked, and grab this, drag this to there, set it to multiply, and bring this in. Then we're going to need to figure out how to set the UVs for these guys. So I'm going to look at this top down. So you can see that when we put material with actual text on it, it kind of breaks, doesn't quite work on this curve object. So what we need to do for that is actually come over here to the bevel depth that we put in there. We put that like 0.2 or whatever. We're just going to zero that out. That can mess with the UVs that you get on these splines. So now the next thing we do is actually stretch it out so that it fits a bit better. And then we'll adjust the UVs of the actual book page to match. Okay, so let's grab a texture coordinate node, or sorry, a mapping node. And we're going to just go over to where we've got this text here. And I'm going to scale it out on the X. Now we're getting some cut through. I can't tell if that's... Might just take this whole system and up a touch just to be safe. There we go, yeah. I'm just going to adjust this until it looks right. Just use this mapping node just to reposition this texture. That looks pretty good. Now it is flipped on one side. I wonder if we can, is there a way of, I don't think there's a way to change the material. Active spline now. I think there is a way of doing that. Okay, so we've got it looking pretty good on the page over here, except of course it's, you know, backwards. Maybe I might flip that. If I go negative, is that going to do it? And then we'll have to reposition this one. Let's take this, and we are going to grab the mesh, and with this UV system, we can just come over here and scale it till things look right for this page. Mirror modifier, I might apply that down here at the base, and then what we can do is got all those faces already selected. I can hit U, unwrap, rotate X 90 degrees, grab X, scale Y, scale X. So now what you could do is, when you're actually animating this, you could take this one, this empty right here, and you play with animating its position and its rotation at different points to create a really nice kind of animation flow. So let's do that. We're just going to go over here to the beginning. I'll just split up my view and go to the timeline, and I'll just bring these down a little bit. And what I can do is I can hit I to set a keyframe with the rotations there. I'll just come forward to 60, and I'll just rotate all the way over till the page lines up. Okay, I'll hit I again here. So now I've got this keyframe. And then with this one, what I can do is I can come here at the beginning and hit I. And then we're going to go forward a little bit to like right up here. And then I'm going to rotate Y like that, I think. We'll see how well this works. Set a keyframe for that. And then when we get down to here, I want it to be back to normal. So I'm going to Alt-R to reset, clear the rotation. Now you can see that's going to do this nice fold. Then you have two options at this point. You can either have multiple versions of this page rig. So you can just take this page rig, and so you would need this one, which has the Bezier and the empty. So yeah, it's all contained within this. What was that one? Oh, that's right. This is the one that sits. That's the binding hold for us. So you would want to take these two and duplicate them a couple of times. You've got different pages. You can have turning, right? So we could probably create, I'll just Shift E to duplicate this empty, and then we can grab both of these guys, Control click that empty, and then Control P to parent. Now you've got one page turn rig. And then what we could do is we can grab this guy and Shift D. That will duplicate, grab that guy, and we want to select hierarchy and Shift D. This will create a whole new version of the same hierarchy. And now what I can do is come in here and I can grab these individual objects and I can grab their keyframes and move them around so that they're offset a little bit. So if I grab, let's see, that, and then grab these over, you could see we're going to get 2 pages. So now we've got the 1 page and then the 2 page. Oh, there you go. We've got ourselves a book with pages that turn. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. We covered a lot of different varying topics. I hope you learned a few things about how to make something for production like this that you could use in a scene. And yeah, let me know any questions you have down in the comments below. And please hit that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this tutorial. And yeah, don't forget to check out the Patreon. Thanks so much. I will catch you in the next tutorial. Until then, have a fantastic week. See you later.